it's deliberate when people go into elections to get a deputy or a vice who they just would not entrust anything to.
From our recent history,
just in case fails.
We know that it is deliberate. Do not forget the problems we had for years, from 1999 till the first 2 terms from 1999. The problems between governors and their deputies. When a governor travels, he doesn't hand over to the deputy. He looks for somebody in government to hand over to us. So until Nigerians started, shouting blue murder. You understand? Because it was clear that this was a complete aberration to the laws of this country. And over time, that was sort of, settled. So governors have to be very careful about who, is going to run with them. They don't want somebody that is too ambitious. Somebody that could have, a lot of clout, political clout, that has the ability to also mobilize and so on. The tendency is that when this man finds himself, the God finds himself in this kind of situation, in the twinkle of an eye, the man will just hear from somewhere else that a new governor a substantive governor has been sworn in. So they are always very careful, to choose people that are seen or they believe are unambitious.
Do you think that's a good thing? I mean, some people say that oftentimes a deputy should be somebody who can take over from you when you're out of office so that person can continue your legacies. Do you think that choice, because you're not the first person to say that, and if you, well, let's not go there, but do you think that choice is actually the wisest?
It is not for
somebody
a country
who cannot succeed.
Yeah.
And we've also seen moves in recent times, to just add this to it, by the National Assembly to also try and say that if you've been deputy governor for 8 years, you cannot, aspire to be governor anymore because you'd have been in office for too long, for something along those lines.
Yeah, National Assembly members, contemplating these laws, who are in office in perpetuity. You can be a National Assembly lawmaker forever, and they want to deny a deputy governor the possibility of becoming governor because he has been in office for too long as deputy governor. Now, look at the contradiction there. But beyond that again, the issue addressed, is very real. And I wish that, that should be the ideal. Somebody that immediately, when you're not there, he can take over, he hits the ground running and so on, because you have chosen the very best of materials. But the issue is today, need the very best of materials. When the self is elevated above the state and above the institutions of the state, then it is no longer a priority to have such people. But when the state plays a greater role, that the actualization of individual interests, then a person who wants to pick a deputy will go for the very best because he wants to be somebody, he wants somebody to pick somebody that will be better than him, knowing that at the end of the day, people are going to look at that also as one of his legacies, that he was the one that picked a worthy, a credible successor. And you understand? So it is also, part part of his profile, part of his achievement, that he was able to pick up somebody that was even better than him as a leader. And that is the true mark of statesmanship. That is the true mark of leadership. But unfortunately, when you elevate the self above the state, then some of these other primordial sentiments will hold sway. And you don't want anybody, to outshine you, when you are not there. And it's part of the thinking that we want to change, among our political, stakeholders in this country.
This is really, I think Mark raised a very big point there, because we haven't seen in our history where a deputy has actually, taken over from the incumbent, or when you see out your term in office, especially in the dispensation of 1999 till date. But in this case, a good thing that, we're expecting his return on Sunday. And we understand the spirit in Taraba is quite different, as they are all excited, hoping to see the governor. What if on that day we didn't get to see the governor of Taraba State?
It's a million naira question. What if, because it has happened before, and so they tell you that it's a very unlikely scenario that lightning will strike the same place twice, but in Nigeria it does strike more than once in the same place, and so it has happened before. A lot of people were expectant, just as we are you know, having it now that their governor was going to come back, and the people who are genuinely, you know, wished for the man to come back and continue with his, governorship activities and so on, were left disappointed. Now, the reason why this is happening again, I want to believe, and again, do not forget, it is not the governor that said he was going to come back. It was people that made this statement on behalf of the governor that the governor was going to come back. Perhaps, you know, from maybe having heard from the governor, you know. So I think it will be a very interesting scenario, but a very unpleasant one for a lot of people. Even
news report has it that the wife or the first lady also, well, alluded to the fact that he returns on Sunday.
Yeah, and we want to believe that she knows what she's talking about. She is his better half. So, but you know, an interesting scenario if he doesn't come back. It's going to disappoint a lot of people and greatly increase the political tension in Taraba State, because it is now going to look like, well, we did say it. We said it wasn't going to happen. That means that there's something, you know, that they are really hiding from us. And I think that that is the issue. Is it possible? Because the other scenario is that they could arrange for him to come back, you know, pump him with a little bit of adrenaline. I'm not saying it is going to happen, but get him fit, prop him up for the occasion, make one or two statements, move from one place to the other, and so on. And they have packaged him well. Then allow him stay in his government house for like a week or so, and then he goes off for a routine, you know, test, and so on, and then stays for another 2-3 weeks. You play for time. And I think that that is what, you know, is going on. They don't have too much time. But anytime
why are you so sure? Why are you so sure,
it looks like the height of
You're so
skepticism.
Sure. You're highly skeptical about what exactly, in spite of the visuals that you've seen.
Do you want me to ignore the dynamics I see play out in my country every day? If you want me to do that, then I'll tell you, yes, everything is going to work out hoki-dory, the way they said it is going to work out. But we've seen...
It's making use of the FOI Act for you out of place.
No,
to get his medical state.
No, it is not.
Sort all these problems
out.
Yeah,
it is not out of place. But again, we know that the FOI, by the time they had tinkered with it and so on, it was not exactly the original thing.
But you can
that
ask,
has been,
and
you
know,
can
with
the government for a very long time.
What you?
People who have you have to prove.
There are so many cases.
You have to prove the matter before the court, and so. And do not forget, our courts also have their ways of looking at this and attaching priority to what they feel should be prioritized.
Isn't that what they say, lazy man's way? Who says there's a lion outside, so I'm not going to go out?
No, but you know that I'm not a lazy man. You are asking, asking me about what we did on the streets.
No, I'm asking because you're talking about the reasons why possibly you may not want to try because it might be futile.
No, it must
Whereas there are people who have tried. There's so many cases who have acted upon this FOI Act and they got what they want.
Well, they say nothing ventured, nothing gained.
But you haven't ventured.
We must have that.
Don't you plan to venture?
You know, there are people who are doing it, and I'm sure there are people
who perhaps
who our plates are already full. I'm sure you know. There are too many things that we are doing for the good of this country, and we'll continue to do. Do you understand? But I think that a lot of, it concerns everybody, whether it's in Taraba State or wherever. And the reason why it should concern everybody is that it will also happen in your own state, and then you now go through the same.
That's why you have locus.
You know, of course, that's why we have locus.
Achikechude, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the grilling too.